All right, big news to start with from the Daily Wire, and also related to the Daily Wire. It says it's the article on the homepage right now. The Daily Wire, the Federalist, and the state of Texas joined on Tuesday in a lawsuit against the U.S. State Department, alleging that the government agency funded censorship technology designed to bankrupt domestic media outlets with disfavored political opinions. The State Department is tasked with foreign relations and has no authority over domestic affairs, yet it took a government office designed for countering foreign terrorist propaganda, which is called the Global Engagement Center, and unleashed it against the Americans engaged in what it claimed was disinformation, according to the lawsuit filed in federal court in the Eastern District of Texas by the New Civil Liberties Alliance. It was, quote, one of the most audacious, manipulative, secretive, and gravest abuses of power and infringements of First Amendment rights by the federal government in American history, said the suit, which also names the Secretary of State Antony Blinken and 5 other officials as defendants. The lawsuit asks the judge to declare the State Department's attempt to interfere with domestic speech illegal and to permanently bar it from developing, promoting, or encouraging others to use technology to de-amplify, shadow ban, or restrict the lawful speech of the American press and Americans. GEC was founded in 2011 as the Center for Strategic Counterterrorism Communications and tasked with countering propaganda of foreign terrorists like al-Qaeda. In 2016, it was renamed but kept the same counterterrorism mission. Congress has made it clear that none of the funds authorized for the entity shall be used for purposes other than countering foreign propaganda. Nevertheless, GEC turned its focus on Americans, the complaint alleges, using taxpayer funds to finance the development and promotion of censorship organizations such as NewsGuard, which we've talked about on the show, and the Global Disinformation Index, which regularly targets conservative media outlets such as the Daily Wire and the Federalist with the stated goal of limiting ad revenue. Now, there's a lot more to this. I'm not going to read the entire thing. It's a long article from Luke Rosiak, but you should go to the Daily Wire and read it because it's a very important, very significant free speech case. I don't think that this lawsuit from the Daily Wire and the Federalist and others is going to get a ton of press, certainly not from the corporate press for obvious reasons, but even by other conservatives, I don't think it's going to get a lot of attention because it's not sexy, right? It's not flashy or showy. Instead, it is a smart and necessary and effective and substantive way to fight back against the censorship regime. And we know that very oftentimes the smart, necessary, substantive, effective things are the things that don't get a lot of attention. They aren't appreciated as much. Be that as it may, this is extremely important because this is how censorship works in the modern age. So for the most part, the government is not coming in and saying, you're not allowed to say this. All right, we haven't had the government show up at the Daily Wire offices and say, here are things you're not allowed to say anymore. They haven't sent federal agents into the office to raid, our offices and cart me and Ben and Michael and Candace away in handcuffs. Like, they haven't done that yet. It may come to that point. It may well come to that point, but it hasn't happened yet. If Joe Biden wins a second term, I would not be surprised. In fact, if Joe Biden wins a second term and the country is run by his handlers for a second term, I would be surprised if we didn't get to the point where they were actually doing federal raids of prominent conservative media outlets and putting people like me in jail. But that's not where we are yet. If you're single or if you know someone who's single, you've probably seen or heard about all the insane dating apps out there. But what if I told you there was a dating app that actually cared about your morals and your biblical values? Well, now there is with a new dating app called Higher Bond. Higher Bond is a new Christian dating app built to be safer, less stressful, and more Christ-centered. Higher Bond is completely different than anything else out there. There's no addictive swiping. The focus is truly on quality over quantity, and it's designed to form lasting marriages. Higher Bond is a Christian company that's veteran-owned by a husband and wife looking to change the way Christian singles meet online. It's no secret that left-wing media and big tech are against companies like Higher Bond. In fact, a big tech company rejected Higher Bond from running ads because their website had the word Christian. Our society and our country need what Higher Bond is doing, and if you're single, you got to check out higherbond.com. Sign up before December 31st and get 3 months of Higher Bond Premium, absolutely free. That's higherbond.com today. Well, if you haven't heard, my wife surprised me with yet another dog in my house, and I'm really excited about it. Excited to have a new dog. And I'm also excited to give this dog rough greens as well. Maybe I'll start posting videos of the dogs racing. The winner gets to stay in our family and the loser has to go. That's actually a good idea. Maybe we could do that. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, the founder of Rough Greens, is focused on improving the health of every dog in America. Before I started feeding my dog Rough Greens, I had no idea that dog food is dead food. It contains very little nutritional value. Think about it. Nutrition isn't brown, it's green. Let Rough Greens bring your dog's food back to life. Rough Greens is a supplement that contains all the necessary vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega oils, digestive enzymes, and antioxidants that your dog needs. You don't have to go out and buy new dog food. Just sprinkle Rough Greens on their food every day. Dog owners everywhere are raving about Rough Greens. It supports healthy joints, improves bad breath, boosts energy levels, and so much more. We are what we eat, and that goes for dogs too. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black is so confident Rough Greens will improve your dog's health. He's offering my listeners a free Jumpstart trial bag so your dog can try it. Get a free Jumpstart trial bag delivered straight to your door in just a few business days. Go to roughgreens.com/Matt or call 844-ROUGH-700. That's RUFF. greens.com/Matt or call 844-ROUGH-700 today. Where we are now is it's a more underhanded approach. And the approach instead is to conspire to label us misinformation and to use that as a pretense to make our content less accessible through algorithms, or in this case, to deprive us of ad revenue, which in the long term is supposed to have the effect of shutting down our businesses. And, that's what makes the whole thing less sort of dramatic, less attention-grabbing in certain ways, because, it's one thing if we came to you and we said, the government is telling us we're not allowed to say this thing. Everyone knows that's a big deal. But it's different when we say, the government is trying to label our content misinformation and make it less accessible through social media algorithms and deprive us of ad revenue indirectly. Like when you say that, people's eyes start to gloss over a little bit. But they shouldn't, because it is effectively the same thing. They know they can't come in directly and point guns at us and say, stop saying that. Again, maybe eventually it'll come to that. Right now, they can't get away with it. And so they're not doing that. And they found other ways to do it. And they're using counterterrorism agencies, and they're using all these different agencies and programs that were set up allegedly for other purposes. And they're doing it all under the guise of quote unquote misinformation. And who decides what counts as misinformation? Well, of course they do. The ruling regime does. The people who believe that men can have babies and women have penises, these are the ones who are deciding what is misinformation. Which, by the way, even if we could trust their judgment on what qualifies as misinformation, which we can't, even if we could, I would still say this is all totally wrong. Because it's just not the government's job to counter misinformation. It's not the government's job to declare what sort of information you should have access to as an allegedly free citizen of an allegedly free country. But it's made all the worse by the fact that, as we know, when they say misinformation, they simply mean information that they would prefer you not see. Whatever their reasons may be for that. And 99 times out of 100, the reason they don't want you to see it is not because it's wrong, but because, in fact, it's right. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.